Hello Lightworkers. I wanted to make this video about magical thinking. You can hear the little magical chimes here going off. We love magic. And for many of you who have landed on planet Earth, you have most likely kind of disregarded the lower three chakras. This is why most of my work is around the root chakra, sacral chakra and solar plexus for light workers, because these are the chakras that we have the most difficulty around. The root representing money, practicality, logic, the sacral representing our relationships, our boundaries with people. For many of you, having boundaries with another being seems quite absurd and foreign, and with the solar plexus related to personal power in terms of how to be empowered here as an individual consciousness in a physical separate plane. So a lot of this is because your higher chakras are charged, they're open. This is why you find it so easy to wake up. This is why you find it so easy to connect. And so a lot of the time at the beginning of our journeys, and you may relate to this, as many of us have gone through this, myself included in a large way, is to lose ourselves in the higher realms. So we connect straight up. We just want to stay in those states of bliss. They feel amazing. And what happens is that we move into this realm of magical thinking, because here we start to believe that, because we understand that we are creating our reality, that our thoughts create our reality, that in a sense that it's magic. And we start to believe that if we just believe in magic, it will happen. Here's where we go down the path of self-destruction. And I've been down this, and it's quite a difficult road, because we have our bubbles burst, and it's quite a traumatic experience to have, especially the magical bubble bursting, because this magical bubble is also protecting us in some level from reality. And this magical bubble is really about, if I believe enough, the universe will reward me just for being, just for loving others, just for wanting my desires, I will be rewarded with it. And again, it's related to this action element, because we go into this excessive feminine space of allowing and receive, and excessive receiving, where we expect the receiving without the action. And we lose all sense of practicality. Usually we have absolutely zero skills around finance and accounting and all of this budgeting. And not to say that we need to have it, but there's a reason why learning how to handle money is very, very important for light workers, because it represents the grounding and practicality of things. So during my own journey with magical thinking, I expected so many things to be given to me, donations, for the work I was doing, all this different, I expected things to come towards me, to be magnetized towards me in this way. And yet I wasn't understanding that the practicality was so powerful in terms of learning how to be here. And so I had many, many, many bubbles burst until I started to realize the power of understanding how humans are living. So this is about rejecting humanity's lifestyle. It's about understanding, taking the best elements of it and integrating into this multidimensional lifestyle. And so practical living, committing, focus, these are almost foreign words to light workers, because it's so used to bouncing around and being very ungrounded. This is why the New Age movement has got a kind of a bad rep of being very ungrounded. And in some elements that's true, we have a very ungrounded nature, but this is not a bad thing. It's about understanding that there are many other gifts that you have, yet when embodied, connected with the earth, when connected with the ground, will literally allow you to become a channel of above and below. And this is the key. It's all about balance. It's balance of spirit and matter. It's balance of the multidimensional realms and this realm, the physical realm. It's balance of magical thinking and Muggle thinking, of practical thinking, of learning to be here and what that means. In other words, what may seem as boring for us actually slows us down, because otherwise we're moving at 1,000,000 miles per hour. We need to slow down more and start to do things in a much more with much more presence. Because with multidimensional reality, we can find that we kind of lose our presence. And initially I rejected the Eastern way of life, and bizarrely over a series of amazing synchronicities I was really pushed over to I found myself in an Eastern community, and it really opened my eyes to what was needed. It balanced me. It gave me elements that I need, and for me all forms of spirituality offer us something. So take what you need from all of these elements and look at your life and see, are you believing in things and getting hugely disappointed by them not occurring? Another element of this is, for example, waiting for the ascension as an event externally. When we wait for this event, we're waiting for something else to save us. And this again relates to this magical thinking of not taking ownership over our lives. Because essentially that's what's underlying it. We don't want to really take responsibility for living here, being here. And this is what can occur with magical thinking. We lose all control of our lives, and in essence it leads to huge disempowerment, because we give all of our power away. We say, I'm not responsible for my life, I'm not in ownership of it, and I'm not responsible for what I say, do, or what occurs for me. And in the end we live life on the lowest level possible, and this usually relates to poverty consciousness, scarcity consciousness. This is a very strong key element of magical thinking. We are constantly having issues with money, with bills. We don't want to look at it. So when I started to heal my magical thinking, I realized how much I was ignoring all the bills that I had, all the debts that I had, because I was looking at it as, this is an old world, I don't want anything to do with it, I'm just going to focus on the new world. But there was a total rejection of responsibility for what I had already amassed. However destructive that world is, however conditioned it is, however controlling it is to keep us limited, we are still responsible for every action that we have partaken in. This is what breaking up the matrix truly is. When you break out the matrix, you are saying, okay, the matrix is like a prison, but I'm also going to take responsibility for all of the actions I have partaken in during that time. In other words, the debts that I have, the bills that I have. Look at it, looking at money. Again, I'm going to be speaking about poverty consciousness, money in a whole other video, but this really relates to us balancing. And I see a lot of light workers get so many bubbles burst that they go to the other side and they start to not believe in the magic anymore. And it's kind of sad to see, because the magic is real, and this is the other side of it. There is real magic in this world, because real magic is a true reality. But Spirit is really asking us to embody ground first and then access the magic, because it comes from a much truer place. You see, we can't control magic, we can't expect it. That's the whole purpose of magic. It occurs in its own way, it has its own directive. It works beyond human law or the mind. It doesn't work to our formula. There is no formula how to create magic. It simply starts to become more and more present in our lives at random opportunities. And the most amazing thing is, what happened for me was, I was in a super magical world and I had a few magical experiences which I held on to, and I started to expect more and more and more from life, and it never happened. I got more bubbles burst. And then I went into that state of rejecting magic, rejecting even this multidimensional reality, starting to focus just on being here. So I went to the other polarity. And then as I started to integrate more and believing in the magic, yet learning how to be here, and literally worked on myself, self-growth, working on the lower 3 chakras, the most amazing thing happened. The magic started to open, and it's still opening to this day. Yet I'm not relying on it, I'm not expecting it. And yet so many gifts are opening up, so many abilities are opening up, so many dimensions opening up for me. But the difference is that I'm seeing them differently. I'm not seeing it in a super grounded way where I'm not feeling the magic. I am, but I'm not getting overexcited like I used to. You see, overexcitement leads, it's an imbalanced state. Because if you think about the word excitement, in physics, when 2 atoms are excited, they are literally vibrating very, very fast. And anything that is vibrating very fast, isn't moving, is not in its natural state. You see, your natural state of equilibrium is stillness, it's connection, it's beingness. So when we're in an excitable state, we can actually agree to things, believe in things that don't actually reflect our true state of being. You can have a conversation with someone and you can agree to something in that moment because you're very excitable, very excited, yet it can not necessarily relate to what you're truly feeling. This is why there is a lot of resentment that occurs for those who make decisions in haste with excitement, because it relates to our inability to pause and just ask ourselves, is this something I truly want? And for a lot of empaths out there, we generally have this going on because we get so involved with the other person's energy or the situation, and we can get really excited about something. So I'd always suggest, when you're excited, just as when you're angry, never make a decision when you're excited or angry. Always take a pause and see whether you can make that decision the next day, because usually we're being shown that it's coming out of a fear. A lot of excitement actually has fear behind it. It's fear that if I miss out, I'm going to miss out on this opportunity, so I better seize it. When something that's really meant for you will be there the next day, the next week, the next month. Of course, there are opportunities that are there to be seized, but once it comes from a grounded perspective, we're looking at all the angles, and the decisions are very different. So this video is really to believe in the magic, believe in it as much as you can, surrender yourself to it. Life is magic, and recognize that there is magic in practical thinking. There's true magic in it, and there's a practicality in the magic. There's nothing to fear with practical living. It actually will ground and structure and honor your spirit, and actually slow down your spirit and take you into a very different state of being. So find that balance for yourself. Will be different for those around you. And one of the things I always say is that this is about us each finding our own equilibrium of what magic is and how to live in this world. We can see it as both magical and practical. It's really about what it means for us and how we balance that.